My amplified unit, salute! Top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are in the world, wake up, get amplified. We got some stories to discuss today. We're going to talk Monday Night Raw's rating this week. While many people might be shocked at the drastic outcome of this number, we're going to talk about it, how this happened, where we go from here, and what H needs to do. We're also going to discuss on the AEW side of things, Wardlow confirming who the 3 new locker room leaders are of AEW, and why this may indeed cause a conflict of interest when those EVPs return. We're also going to talk Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. The war of words continues. And we have to start off with Ava Raine. The Rock's daughter, Simone Johnson, makes her shock debut during last night's live NXT telecast. This is a shock debut because Shawn Michaels, we just talked about this, just a couple of videos ago. Shawn Michaels was asked about how she's coming along, when her debut is going to be, and he said, possibility of the end of 2022, but it looks like 2023, but you will be seeing her sometime in 2023. And BC told you, I mean, if you bring her out around January, you could possibly start something big. And even though she wouldn't be a full-time main roster member, you could still have her involved in something with The Rock and Roman if that's the way they want to go for WrestleMania. She could be involved in some way. Even BC was taken back by how soon after Shawn Michaels' comments she debuted. She debuted that fucking week last night during NXT with Schism and Gacy, their leader, presenting Simone Johnson as Ava Raine, her debut. Man, you could look at that as rushed. You could look at that as they're helping her out, because the longer you wait, the anticipation is just going to weigh on her shoulders like an entire house is on her back. And it's going to weigh on her, and that house is going to get heavier and heavier, and more people are going to be moving into it, and they're going to build on top of the fucking house to make it a skyscraper, and that weight is going to drag her down. And by the time she debuts, any little fuck up will be magnified to the 1,000th degree. So you could say that they helped her out. They're going to throw her into the waters now. They're going to surround her with other people so she's not by herself. They're going to put her in a group like Schism where storyline based, whether you like the storylines or not, I understand. Some people are for Schism. Some people think they're absolutely fucking trash. Whichever side of the fence you're on, eye of the beholder. That's not even the discussion. This is bigger than any of that right now. This is about Simone Johnson. This is about Ava Raine. And they know that. They know how valuable of an asset this is going to be going forward. And they're trying to surround her with people that can insert her into storylines. Make sure that she's not by herself out there. Make sure that other people can pick her up. And Gacy is whether you think the dude's the greatest of wrestlers, whether you think he's involved in good storylines, whether you think his character is shit or not, the dude can speak. So he's going to pick you up there. And you're surrounded by people who can go in the ring. So, again, whether you think they're good or not, or boring, that's in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't matter. I see a lot of people just really upset that she debuted with Schism. Guys, that's the least of the issues right now. You know, this is about Ava Raine. This is huge. And this is... man, I just give her so much credit and props and respect for being... Is she the first, fourth generational female talent? Or no. Yeah, because Tamina wouldn't be, because that was Snuka, and Snuka wouldn't be fourth. So that would be... Is she the first? Well, somebody drop below. I think she's the first female fourth generation, correct? I'll find out more, man. You guys can correct me. Jer9, if you're catching this, man. But this is such pressure, and it's not just being a fourth generational female talent, first ever or one of the, but it's The Rock's fucking daughter, the number one Hollywood dude in the world, the number one, probably the most recognizable figure right now in the world. Not Tom Cruise, not a Brad Pitt, not a fucking John Depp. It's The Rock. I mean, way bigger than Schwarzenegger was back in the day, and he was huge. Stallone. No, it's The Rock, and this is his daughter. I mean, the magnifying glass is on her to a degree that we've never seen. And you're telling me that you're just going to get hung up on her initial debut as if Rocky Maivia was a hit with pro wrestling, right? As if Isaac Yankem was a smash hit before Kane became something in WWE. You know, you're going to have road bumps along the way. Ringmaster probably wasn't going to become anything that special, but Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up being something really cool. You know, give it a little bit of time. You don't usually say that, right? Usually people are saying that to BC. Give it time, BC. Have patience. Let it play out. But, I mean, this is this woman's debut. She needs to be surrounded with people. It has to be in NXT. Could we have done better? Maybe. Is this horrible? Absolutely not, man. Let her develop. This is the one time where Triple H's words are going to reign so damn true. If you're actually developmental, be developmental. Be it. Develop her. You could say they should have taken more time. I understand. But again, it would have been more pressure. The longer we wait, we're going to expect more and more and more. I think they had a long discussion, and she told them, let's just rock. I do better on the fly. I'll do better when I'm out there and just feeling it. Sound familiar? That's what The Rock did. The Rock just felt things through. He didn't need everything to be perfectly in place. Let him go out there and entertain. Now, we don't know how much of that she has from her father. We'll find out. But she has to be surrounded by people. We know that. Even if she waited another year, you have to put her in a group of some sort. You guys know that. So everybody crying about how she debuted and not respecting the fact that she did. I mean, that takes such courage, bravery. That takes fucking balls to debut that quickly. And to have the confidence to do such. And I give her, as I was saying earlier, I give her so much respect and credit because she doesn't have to do this. She could be one of those rich brats that just sits at home because her family is so damn rich. Even her fucking mom. Very successful. But The Rock, wow, bro. He doesn't need any more money for the next 10 lifetimes. But The Rock just keeps collecting. The Rock loves to work. The Rock loves what he's doing. The Rock is going to wrestle Roman Reigns eventually, whether it's Mania or not. And he doesn't have to do that, clearly. It's because he loves this shit. Simone Johnson could easily just sit at home and live on dad's money. Mom's money. And instead, she chose to get her ass up every fucking morning early, 4, 5 a.m., eat what she has to eat, train how she has to train. On days where she doesn't feel that great, the last thing she wants to do is even get out of bed, and she goes to that performance center and she busts her ass, and she never took a shortcut. Everything we heard is she trained just like everybody else. And she's doing this, why? Busting her ass, putting her life on the line because she loves this shit. I mean, how is that not so much respect for Simone Johnson in her? She's still so fucking young. What's the age on Simone Johnson, guys? 21 years old. 21 years old. I was fucking drinking beer, getting into bar fights at 21 years. Come on, man. This woman technically could just play the brat and never work a day in her life. You see it all the time in Hollywood with daughters of big famous people. And she chose to be a pro fucking wrestler, and she wants zero shortcuts. Her initial decision was, I don't want the name. I don't want to be associated like a Charlotte Flair is to a Ric Flair. I mean, I don't see how people are not taking this for what it is. This is something special. This is something you do not see. I mean, this isn't even like Charlotte Flair and Ric Flair. This is way beyond that. And you see how Charlotte Flair worked out, by the way, with that Flair name. It just weighed her down even more. You saw what Rocky Maivia, what happened to him from his father, Rocky Johnson. You can't just carry a name and think that everything's going to be a bed of roses, man. So she's Ava Raine. She embodies that. She wants to be that. She wants her own identity. She's in Schism. She says on her social, she says, I found my family. Deuces, basically. I found my family. How cool is that? Like, she's distancing herself. She doesn't want to be a part of that. She believes what she's looking for. Well, that's a great entry point to where we're going to get to with the bloodline, guys. They've already laid the foundation. She's searching for an identity. She wants to belong to something that she felt she was never a part of because The Rock, her father, was working all the time. Her mother working all the time. Maybe she felt neglected. She now found her family. She put that on her social. That's why she joined with them. And eventually, should she swing over to the bloodline and they persuade her to come home to her real family, and then you have the dissension between The Rock and the bloodline now with his own daughter? Or does she join The Rock and say, I thought this was my new family in Schism down in NXT? No, the numbers game isn't going to pan out without me being involved. I got your back, Dad. You could do so many things, guys. My point is, it's not the end of the world. I understand. You're seeing Schism. You see her come out in a mask. You're flipping the fuck out. She's ruined. It's the end of days. Or as Kevin Patrick says with the Deep Six, it's the ring around the rosies. Guys, it's not the end of the world. Relax. Let her literally develop. This is the first time where I'm going to look at NXT and say, now you have to be developmental for her. And this is no offense to be taken for Joe Gacy or anybody else in Schism, but this is larger than you. Simone Johnson is its own project, and the main goal for WWE is just to develop her over the next fucking year. Even if she's involved with the Rock Roman storyline at Mania, you still have to develop her all through 2023. But the fact that they're throwing her right into the water, sink or swim situation for a Johnson, fucking love it. And you know that was majority of her idea. She probably was saying, just let me rock. And they're probably trying to just protect her every which way possible, and she doesn't want to be. She wants to train like everybody else. She wants the same opportunities, no more than anybody else. Even though that's just impossible, because she is The Rock's daughter, she's going to get other bigger opportunities. And that's just the way life is, man. It's another level of an individual. That's why Charlie Flair got so many opportunities. Way too many, actually. She should have never been near 14 or 15 championships. To this day, 6 years on the main roster-ish, maybe more, she still doesn't connect with the crowd. I say this almost every video, because it looks like she's going to come back and get another championship, and there'll be no connection. So now we play a game of wait and see. Let's see what Simone Johnson, let's see what Ava Raine actually has to bring to the table. But everybody flipping out, everybody panicking, everybody fucking hating this. Relax, it's her first appearance, bro. A lot of wrestlers. I brought up Ringmaster Steve Austin. I brought up Rocky Maivia. I brought up fucking Isaac Yankem. You could think of a million more individuals. where their first gimmick fell to the wayside. It just didn't work. It was downright bad. And I'm not even saying this is right now. I'm going to see what she brings to Schism. Maybe she gives them a shot of life. But Joe Gacy is somebody that can absolutely string her along, bring her along, help her out, save her on the mic. And with a group, obviously, they can protect any wrestling flaws that they see and need to correct. Just BC sees a lot more positive than negative here, and I'm hoping, if you guys know how to break down wrestling and individuals, and especially somebody with the profile of Simone Johnson, I'm hoping you guys are seeing the positives here as well, and not just absolutely flipping the fuck out because she's in Schism. This is big, and it's bigger than Schism. It's bigger than NXT. And there's plans in place. I'm telling you, they want to get her to a certain point with The Rock and Roman Reigns. And I'm all here for it. She needs to be a part of that situation. She has to be. And she has to be thrown into waters now. They don't want her just showing up. And they can set this up. She's searching for a family. I just don't see what all the fuss is about. I don't mind this at all. At all. She needs to find her footing, guys. She doesn't have to have a pristine NXT first ever debut in pro wrestling. She doesn't need to, because I can give you a laundry list of 100 individuals that made it big in the business, and they had horrible first gimmicks or situations that they were in. And again, I'm not even saying she's in that right now. So you could say BC's being the ever so optimistic one and not pessimistic for the first time in a while, but that's not what I'm being. It's not even optimism. It's just facts. This is not that bad. This is going to work wonders for her. This is going to help her being surrounded by people. And you say, well, BC, I understand she needs to be surrounded by people, but couldn't it be a different group? Couldn't it be a different situation? Now we're literally dissecting apples and oranges here. It's all fruit. It's NXT. There's only 500,000 or 600,000 people a week watching this shit anyway. I think Triple H is more true in his words than even he believed. They literally are developmental with just a bunch of main roster talents going over there every week now. NXT doesn't know what the fuck it is. It just doesn't. It doesn't know what it is. So this is one of those situations where I'm literally looking at it as developing Simone Johnson. And I don't give a fuck about any of this. When she hits the main roster, I hope she's pristine and ready to go. That's all I give a fuck about right now. So you can cry about her NXT debut. I'm looking at the much bigger picture. And don't even give me... Basically, you say it all the time, man. First impressions are everything. This is... What are you doing? First, you're not going to fuck up. If that's the case, in certain situations like The Rock and Austin and Kane, then they would never get over, because you're never going to get Rocky Maivia out of your head. You're never going to get the Ringmaster out of your head. You're never going to get fucking Isaac Yankem, the fucking dentist. You can't get that out of your head. You'd never be able to. Right? I mean, you just wouldn't... It would just be done. But no, you can absolutely save something that's maybe looked at or perceived as bad in pro wrestling. You just have to give a fuck, know what the issues are, and correct them. Again, we don't even know what they're going to do with her in Schism yet. I mean, this is one of those situations where we literally, I hate the words usually, because people usually say this to BC in the most stupidest of ways, but we literally have to let it play out. She just debuted. It's all a bigger picture. I got to give you guys an Aaron Rodgers line from last year. For anybody that's flipping out, relax. 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 Be happy for this 21-year-old girl who woman, 21. She's a woman, okay. Be happy for her. She doesn't need to do this. There's the pressure, the weight of the world on her shoulders. And she decided to pro wrestle, knowing knowing the backlash she is going to receive every move she makes, literally and figuratively, because of who her father is. And we're already just going to trash her because of her debut in Developmental's NXT brand? I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. Anyway, eye of the beholder. You can do what you want. Don't count BC in with you. Count me out if we're just trashing this. I really hope she's just being developed and more and thrown into the waters just like that. I feel is actually going to help her because it's going to lesser the pressure in the future. I hope that makes sense because BC has been saying this needs to be done from day one. And I'm glad they pulled the trigger and actually did it. That's the talk I'm going to say on Ava Raine, Simone Johnson. Now, we're going to see exactly what develops over the next couple of months. We'll get a better gauge going into Royal Rumble, WrestleMania season. We'll get a better gauge on the journey of Ava Raine and where it's headed destination-wise. I want to get over to Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker is where I want to head now. And Toni Storm involved. Just the locker room. We've seen this time and time again with Thunder Rosa. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just she burns bridges, and just not a lot of people like to work with her. It's one of those things. If you're the common denominator and everybody just doesn't like you, maybe you look in the mirror and you say, what the fuck am I doing? Because these wrestlers don't want to be around her, a lot of them anyway. And there's just a lot of people over the years that have so many stories about Rosa, and they're not the best. It's not even just like it's just Baker and her friends. You get somebody like Toni Storm that comes over and sees pretty quickly that Thunder Rosa just rubs her the wrong way. Toni Storm said this last week. This is a quote from Toni Storm. I guess my first thing would be to beat Thunder Rosa and stop this interim nonsense. That's kind of what's been bothering me. I think that's been bothering a lot of people because she's still calling herself AEW Women's Champ. I'm the one here every week doing the work. Right now, I guess it's about being a good champion, being a strong champion. That's what I'm up against every day. I'm working harder than ever in my career. The time is now. I look at every week as just an opportunity to prove myself. I love giving my all, and who knows where we go from here. But all I know is I'm going to continue to work hard. And she says again, she reconfirms, I just want to end this interim nonsense. I'm done. So she's pissed off, right? Because when she was about to get that title and Rosa just had to do the job, you could do it quickly. It could be one of those 2-minute matches or something. They've done it in the past. And she just hands over the championship to the rightful new owner, which was going to be Toni Storm. And instead, boom, out of nowhere, a back injury. And she's just gone until next year, we're hearing. Thunder Rosa says it could be January when she returns. She doesn't know. She says that's what they're telling her. She's going back to the docks. She's going to get more treatment done. And meanwhile, everyone else is like, well, what the hell is happening? How did we get to this point? And then Rosa goes on and into an interview, and Rosa's talking about all it takes is one privileged person. She says she didn't want to basically play this card, but as a Latina, she had to work double as hard, and all it takes is one privileged person, meaning Britt Baker, I'm guessing. So I didn't know if we had to go there, man. I mean, Thunder Rosa made a million mistakes in her career. We all know that. She should have handled business a million different ways. I can't believe I'm saying this, but in that Evilise match, that was more Thunder Rosa sandbagging and just stopping her work on live TV. Just stopping. Just not working, and Evilise couldn't do anything about it. It was more Rosa. The Marina Shafir shit, where Marina needed somebody to kind of lead her along a little bit, Rosa just made her look even worse, sandbagged and stopped working for Marina Shafir. And so many other times, it's almost like Thunder Rosa just plays the victim all the time. And she acts like she does nothing, and it's like, no, most of the time it's actually you, dude. And in terms of a great wrestler, she's just not. That's not shade. I hope she becomes better. She herself said many months ago on her own social, I know I have to improve, get better, and I'm going to. So she wants to put into the work. That's the good news. So she even admitted that. So anybody that goes, oh, no, basically she's great. Well, she said she has to improve. So, I mean, fandom's one thing, But you got to listen to the person you're a fan of. I mean, she's telling you she still has to improve, and that's great. But then all of a sudden, when she's about to give over the championship, boom, she's off TV. Now, this isn't even about blaming a Britt Baker, right? Because Britt Baker then went on a fucking podcast and with Swerve too or some shit. And she was talking about, she was doubling down and saying like, you know, I pride myself on not taking days off, working through injuries. And all of a sudden she's taken months off for her back. And it's a back issue. So you really can't even detect what the real problem is. The back is so tricky. And then they played off of what Rosa said in a recent interview, which is her own friends are asking her if you're faking the injury because they're hearing shit. Well, if your own friends have to even question your believability, trust your words, that's an issue, man. Like if I say something, my real friends are not going to question the legitimacy of it. So that was a red flag, and I think Britt Baker and all of them are playing on that now. But it's not a whether you blame Britt Baker or Toni Storm or you blame Thunder Rosa, there is somebody to blame, and his name is Tony Khan, the boss of AEW, because he allowed it to get to this fucking point. And guys, this is the utmost truth. If there's one truth bomb that I'm going to drop bigger than any in this video, Tony Khan allowed this to happen. Allowed this beef, allowed this turmoil in the women's locker room because of this interim champion bullshit. If you knew there was a back injury and you didn't have a timetable on return, you just knew there was an issue, you drop the title. Anybody who's ever watched pro wrestling for the last 5 decades, 4, 3, 2, 1, the last decade, you know you hand over the title when there's an injury, especially if there's not a timetable. As if he didn't learn the first time with the CM Punk interim title bullshit, and that was a whole plethora of other problems. This is a whole another level of personal issues stemming because you allowed somebody injured without a return table to carry the title off into the sunset. And then you have a fraudulent champion in its place. Interim? That just means a placement holder for the real title holder. The real champion. Toni Storm knows this. She's carrying around this fucking fraudulent championship while everyone says, yeah, but you're not the real one, right? I don't blame Toni for being pissed. And Thunder Rosa, whether she didn't want to do the job or not, and that's why she did is there an injury? Maybe. Maybe there is. There could be absolutely legitimacy. But there's a million ways that she, on TV, could have handed over the championship. She was wrestling, apparently, from what she said, with the fucking back injury at first anyway. So you couldn't have just wrestled a weak match. A weak match just means just a real soft match. You know what I mean? 5-6 minutes. You could have even done 2-3 and have a schmaz ending. These days, fruit roll-ups win every match anyway. You could have had a fucking fruit roll-up. It doesn't fucking matter. But you could have had a soft match, a weak match, and handed over the champion. There's a million ways you could have done it. This wasn't a back injury that literally on the dime stopped her career. No, it turned into that. So Tony Khan should have saw that and said, all right, we got to take the championship from you. When you come back, we're going to do something big. Don't you worry. Build back up and boom, into the title picture. Can't promise you the title back, but you're going to be prevalent. We're going to have something huge. We'll work on it a month before you're about to come back. There's ways to handle this. No, he allows her to take off with the fucking title, and now we're hearing she might not be coming back till January, guys. Couple more fucking 3 more months. So by the time she comes back, we're half a fucking year? And your title is held hostage by somebody who just has this odd back injury. They don't really know what the issue is because it's the back, but when Tony says I'm back, with the championship, I'll do the job if need be. This was handled so fucking poorly because of Tony Khan. This all could have been prevented. Would Britt Baker and Toni Storm and the rest of the locker room like Thunder Rosa anymore? Probably not. I mean, for some reason, the ladies just butt heads with Rosa. It's not just Britt Baker is the leader of the Mean Girls, guys. There's a lot of stories about people just not liking the way that Thunder Rosa goes about her business, always plays the victim. The way she uses the fucking internet, man, it's so manipulative, right? She goes into podcasts like this. She goes into podcast and she knows that like the podcaster reviewing the shows we can't really talk a lot of shit now because Thunder might be watching. So we have to take her side. She goes on Busted Open Radio and she uses that platform. She says several times in her interview on Busted, she feels like she always has to come here and say her piece. You know, why is that? Right? Because she always has to be deep into the IWC so that they all can write the good shit while she pulls the shady shit in the back. What I'm saying is, sure, I'm not saying Britt Baker is totally clean here, right? I mean, she probably does play her Britt Baker card. I don't know about privilege, but she plays her Baker card. She made the right moves. She started, like Britt Baker said in one of her interviews, she started losing to everybody. She lost to everybody on the fucking roster. She says some of them twice before she even got any momentum. She worked her way to the fucking top. And she loves being a leader for the women's division, and she doesn't see a lot of good qualities in Rosa. That's her prerogative. But I'm not saying she's totally innocent in this. But it's up to fucking... Come on, man. For Rosa just to act like it's all on her. She's doing nothing wrong, everybody. When we know that's bullshit. Everybody is at fault, but there's one major blame game to be placed upon, and that is Tony Khan. He allowed it to get to a point it shouldn't have gotten. You take the fucking title off of her because she's injured without a timetable return, and you give it to the next deserving person or the person that should be getting it storyline based, and Tony Storm was just next up. I don't give a fuck who you give it. Give it back to a fucking Rio. Give it to Sheeta. But she's injured. I don't see how this interim shit has helped anybody. It has ruined the CM Punk situation, or at least helped ruin it, and it has ruined the Rosa Storm situation. I hope this is the last time we have to say this to Tony Khan. Cut the shit, Tony, with this interim bullshit. Cut it. It's just ruining your locker room. It's doing nothing for anybody. Want to move on? How's that for amplification? This all could have been, not all right, they're still not going to like each other probably, but man, if Tony Khan just did this the right fucking way, and we knew when we hear interim champion, we know this is not going to end well. And it's just going to fuel the fire, right? You're just pouring more gasoline on a fire. You're putting more logs onto that fire, and you're watching that fucker burn. I know we go from a very serious topic to ratings, but it's the roller coaster of an amplified vid. You know, we cover everything on this channel, man. That's what this podcast is. You got to be ready to bob and weave on every subject, guys. If you can't handle all these subjects, I'm sure there's other channels for you. But we got to talk our ratings because the Monday Night Raw rating did come out late yesterday afternoon. Late in the afternoon, and the rating is, I guess you wouldn't be so surprised because the show was not that good. They pulled in 1,641,000 viewers. That is down from over 1.8 million from just last week. That is over 160,000 viewers in a drop. They lost over 160,000 viewers in 1 week with less sports than the week previous. 160,000, 0.45 in the demo. You don't need BC to tell you that is not good. You don't need BC to tell you that the show was just not good. And you don't need BC to tell you that they need to get that ship in order because you have 2 pay-per-views coming up next month. You have Crown Jewel on the 5th, Saturday, and 3 weeks later, Saturday, on the 26th, 2 days after Thanksgiving, you have Survivor Series. So, with 2 man, you need to be bringing your best game, your A game, to the table. You need to bring the best possible segments and matches, the best possible entertainment that you can if you're going to put on 2 pay-per-views, 2 premium live events in 1 month within 3 weeks of one another. And that's what you brought on Monday. I saw positives. I spoke about it in the review yesterday. But damn, it wasn't enough to put together a solid 3-hour show, not even close. And the response that this show got universally, you don't see that often. Usually you're at the bare minimum, at the least you're at a 50-50, right? Everyone's bad. I thought it was a good show. No, it sucked. But this past week, BC, and I talked about positives, by the way. Usually I don't get to talk about a bunch of positives on the show. I saw a bunch of positives. But what I saw, and I even felt it myself, was that people did not dig this show. And you saw it, man. You can blame the football all you want. This was a much easier week for Monday Night Raw than what they've had the last 2 months. And they lost 160,000 plus. They're back to a 1.6 on the low end of 1.6. I mean, you lose 41,400 more, and you are right back to the 1.5s, which is the lowest the show's ever garnered, other than, I believe, one time they hit a 1.4. That was a triple-decker. Maybe it was like the holiday with a sporting event. I forgot, man. And then they just put together a poor show. But you're right back to 1.5. Be very careful here, Paul Levesque, Mr. Triple H, Papa H, because now we're treading on very thin waters where even if you think you're doing some things right, which you did Monday, it doesn't equate to a good show necessarily. And you found out the hard way, Papa H. A very harsh lesson. And that needs to be corrected Monday because, man, people that usually praise this motherfucking show, literally, they take it as a fucking a rite of passage, a fucking homage to Monday Night Raw. Even they were bored out of their fucking dome pieces. I've never seen anything like this. So that's got to be corrected. 1.641 dropped over 160,000 viewers. Unreal. Moving on to some AEW news, man. Warner Bros. Discovery is doubling down on AEW content. That's the good news. How long does Rampage stick around? Unless they can pull themselves out of the 400,000s and low ends most of the time of 400,000. I say if they start dipping into 300,000, you got to can the show. If they can somehow dip their toes back in the 500,000 and give Warner Bros. Discovery some hope, maybe they'll stick around. But either way, Warner Bros. Discovery is doubling down. They want to do more content. They want to lengthen up their deal with AEW. That's the good news. A lot more Dynamite, and maybe double down on a much better second show than what Rampage delivered. What Rampage was supposed to be but never was. Maybe in the future, Warner Bros. Discovery and AEW, Tony Khan can deliver something like that. It's not the time right now, right? Still find your identity as a company. Still try to take that A show Dynamite and try to get consistently to that 1.2 in viewership. But when the time's right, if they're going to lengthen up their deal, they're going to be in a prime spot. It's the direction they want to go, though, that's kind of concerning to BC. You guys are going to love this outright, right? What am I talking about? They're trying to make it a sport. The strategy is that they're pushing AEW into the sports category, not entertainment category. And they're increasing that because of the new ownership, Warner Bros. Discovery, and they want more of a sporting catalog. So I know, guys, at the surface, you're going to say, well, this is what we need, right? WWE will be the entertainment. We're going to be the sport. You guys are not understanding, man. That sounds good in terms of wording, right? Oh, it's a sport. It doesn't do jack shit. AEW from its foundation told you it was going to be more of a sport. What has it truly ended up being, right? It's still the same thing that WWE is, whether it's a little less of the hokey pokey shit or sometimes more. It doesn't matter. It's all the term sports entertainment. We can diss Vince McMahon all we want. BC usually does for justified reasons due to all the poor choices this dude has made over the last 10 years especially. But one of the brilliant things he did was coin that phrase, sports entertainment. I love it. I love it. They are athletes. What they're doing is athletic to another level at times, but it's heavily into the category of entertainment. I think we all know that, man. Ain't nobody trying to lie to ourselves and say it's anything more than an entertainment show, right? We will give you sports entertainment, but that's as far as we can go. You can't call this a fucking just a sport because it's predetermined. It's scripted. It's rehearsed. I mean, you're putting together tournaments that are predetermined, rehearsed. It's all scripted. Could you imagine having a scripted, predetermined, rehearsed Major League Baseball playoff? Or the NFL or the basketball and the NBA? Everybody would be out of a job. There'd be no fucking league. There'd be lawsuits. It's all scripted. You can't. It's a fucking show, man, that just happens to have athletes. So you're going to pin this as a sport and try to get away from the term entertainment. And what? Are we supposed to look at this like the UFC? Are we going to have more bangers? Are we going to have more tournaments? Every night on Dynamite, are we going to have just 6 20-minute matches? Well, if it's 2 hours, you would have, you could get 7 or 8 20-minute matches, and then we all just turn the channel afterwards. Wow, we just saw a night of bangers. Can't wait till next week. No, TV shows need to be for storylines. And all the bangers, all the culminating moments should be in the culminating matches at the pay-per-view that were set up by weeks of building the stories on the shows. I mean, we're so ass backwards where today in 2022, we want to call this a sport even though the tricks have been exposed, right? The magicians are exposing their own tricks today. They're having matches and then afterwards going on social media and showing a picture of them and their opponent at dinner. Back in the day, when they would not expose their tricks, is when they should have said sport, right? And they just coined the phrase sports entertainment. But that's when they should have called it a sport, when they were really trying to portray that these culminating feuds, they meant something, you know? And now it's 2022 where the tricks are all exposed, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to act like this is a real sport. It's so weird to me. It's okay to be an entertainment program. If you're looking to pro wrestling in your catalog, if you're Warner Bros. Discovery, if you're looking to pro wrestling for sports, you got it ass backwards. And you don't understand pro wrestling. And that goes for fans as well, that just want to use the word sport to be attached with wrestling. Less entertainment, because we don't want the hokey pokey. Well, I'll tell you this, there's a lot of fans that don't want the fucking flippity, dippity, dives, the 450, 630, plancha, suicide, dive, moonsault, acrobatic, what the fuck was that? Oh, inverted tortellini moves. Non-stop, like human ping pong balls. We don't want to see that throughout a whole fucking 2-hour show. And then afterwards, we go on social and we all act. We all act like we've never seen any of these moves before. Wow, did you see the bangers? You know, you're trying to get rid of what pro wrestling actually is. And then you wonder why ratings are in the tank. I've been saying this, it seems, like a broken record for 5 years. Don't hide from what pro wrestling is, man. It is the out-of-the-box, ludicrous shit. It is entertainment. Now you're gonna falsely put this in a sporting category. And what, are the rankings gonna mean any more than they do now? Because they already don't mean shit. Tony Khan has tried to portray this as a sport, or he said he was, and he found out quickly that that's just not pro wrestling, and it doesn't work. This may be harsh words. I know there's going to be people going, no, but it's like, I think this is the right direction. At least make the image like it's a sport. Everybody knows that the wrestlers themselves are exposing themselves on their own social medias that this is a farce. I wish people were just fucking honest with what this is. I love the term sports entertainment. It's fucking entertainment, man. It's unlike anything else, but it's not a fucking sport. You're just going to label this a sport. You're doing an injustice to my New York Yankees, my Green Bay Packers, maybe your 49ers, maybe your Astros, maybe my Knicks, maybe your Houston Rockets. maybe the Lakers, whatever your fucking team is, whatever your sport is, pro wrestling is now a sport. Well, fuck. At this point, you might as well put in a game of Twister. That's a sport now. Monopoly. Fuck it. You're rolling dice. You're an athlete. Doesn't matter even if you're cheating. If you're the banker and you're slipping yourself some extra 20s, it's a sport. You're an athlete. You're in the category of sporting. According to Warner Bros. Discovery, why the fuck not? And finally, Wardlow. On the current atmosphere backstairs in backstairs? Is that a thing? Backstairs? Backstage in AEW, Wardlow says this, and this confirms exactly who's running the show now. Everybody backstage has done such a great job of communicating, and we've been honestly through all of the, as you said, chaos. Fortunately, on the inside, it has made us so much tighter. I feel like since all of that stuff happened, these past couple of months have really changed the locker room. We have some really positive leadership. Guys like Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, and Bryan Danielson. They are true leaders right now, and they are very passionate. They've done such a good job of getting the locker room together and on the same page, getting our company on the right track. We talked about this recently. I feel like our locker room is as tight as it was when we started a few years ago. Think about that, guys. Right before Punk got with the company is what he's talking about. A little bit, the start of AEW, a little bit past the start of the creation of the company, and pre-CM Punk, which a lot of people feel that's when the poison was injected into AEW in the name of Phil Brooks. When we first started, man, we were all on the same mission. We were a family. We survived COVID together, where we spent more time with each other than our own families. It was really, really special those years. We basically lived in Jacksonville, too. Everybody bonded so well, and I feel like recently we're getting back to that. So that's what I mean. CM Punk is not going to come back. First of all, I don't think Punk would be comfortable or want to be there, and the locker room would just revert back to turmoil. You just got to part ways, buy out Punk's contract. That's what they're in the middle of. They're just going through a non-compete phase right now where they're trying to determine exactly when Punk can start to wrestle for another company if he chooses to, if another company wants to sign him. But that's the confirmation. We've been hearing that Jericho, Danielson, and Mox have stepped up. They said enough of this shit. They didn't wait for Tony to anoint them. They just stepped the fuck up and said this is the way it is. And they're the new leaders. So when the EVPs come back, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, guys, I don't think at all, I know for a fact, Jericho, Mox, and Danielson, they're not going to step aside for them. They're cool with them, and they're going to have great fucking discourse. They're going to have great conversation. But they're not going to let the elite override them, even though the elite has more power because they're EVPs. There's new sheriffs in town. There's new powers, man. And Tony Khan even feels that the tides have changed. And it's Chris Jericho, Mox, and Danielson. Two of them just signed new contracts, Mox and Jericho. And I think Danielson will as well. He's going to have a long talk with the Bellas, and I'm sure Brie is going to want him to at least talk to WWE, because I think Brie knows that post-wrestling, more opportunities are going to be with World Wrestling Entertainment, and the Bellas really want Danielson to be in that bubble with them. So, man, that's going to be interesting to see what Danielson does next. But those are your locker room leaders. We already heard that over the last 2 weeks in several different conversations and people dropping hints and just stories that we've heard. But man, to hear it this detailed by a prominent individual in that locker room, that's huge. They didn't wait for Tony to anoint them. They stepped the fuck up and they said, this shit's going to change now. And it worked. Those three dudes, you ain't getting through that wall of defense, man. And it looks like AEW, that locker room is going to be much more on track. Now, do dudes like Eddie Kingston and such, do they follow along and play along? It remains to be seen. Dudes like Eddie Kingston go rogue once in a while, man. BC Amplified. I tried to stuff a lot in a short amount of time. I hope you guys enjoyed this vid, even though you might have disagreed with some of it, man. It's a sport, basically. Much love, man, always. Just for tuning in and having the conversation with BC is so much fun, and I look forward to doing it again. Much more this week. Much more content is coming your way, so make sure you smash that up on the way out. Show that love and support, and know that it's right back to you. BC, signing off. Top Guy, saying check you. Put him up. Ow! Damn.